The cook is now putting on her apron.
Yes.
And doing a very good job of it.
Custom-made apron.
This is sequence number 2 of Nana Goes to the Kitchen and cooks up one of her special treats for us. We've done potato pancakes, and in this session we're going to learn how to make Nana's famous apple pie. And the first thing that she's doing, of course, is getting some apples.
Actually, the first thing to do
yes,
is to prepare the crust.
Oh.
I wonder if I should do that.
Well,
Except Chip should be in on doing that.
well, you know how late he is.
Don't film this part of it, honey. Let me get some of this.
All right, we're going to take a pause now, and we'll come back at a little later stage.
First of all, when you make a pie, or anything that you cook, you should try to have everything assembled first. Everything measured. Are you filming?
Yes.
Everything should be measured out, and your bowls, your pans, everything should be right at hand, which makes it much easier and faster to work. And if you're making pie the old-fashioned way, you need a pastry blender, you need a rolling pin, which is covered with a cloth stocking. That way you can have a very rich pie crust and it won't stick, which is why most people hate to make pies. Then you need a cloth-covered board, and I have drawn a circle here, the size of my pie tin, which shows me when I roll out my pie dough that that's how big a piece of dough I need for my pie tin.
What a clever idea.
Then I thumbtack my cloth down to the board so it will remain nice and taut when I roll out my dough. Let's see. Okay, let's start here. I have 2 cups of flour, just regular old flour, in which I've stirred in a teaspoon of salt. Then we have about 8 to 10, depending on the size, green apples. Now they can be Pippins, they can be Gravenstein, they could be Greenings, or they could be Granny Smith, but they should be nice and tart.
Okay.
Then I have measured out, I hope the back of my head looks all right.
Oh, it's beautiful, as
first.
always.
I have measured out a cup of sugar that I put in a pinch of salt and about a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's to go on top of the apples before you put the top layer of the crust on. Then we need a lemon, which you use after you've peeled and cut your apples. You keep putting a little lemon juice in, which keeps them from turning brown and also gives better flavor to the pie. Now I think we should pause.
Okay.
A secret, when you are measuring your shortening for pie, fill your glass or cup with hot water. And that way, when you put your shortening in and you go to take it out, it comes out very easily. So I believe I told you I put in 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and we're going to put in a generous cup of shortening. I prefer Crisco.
I'm going to interrupt by saying, because I don't know why the date isn't flashing on this tape, but in case anybody wants to know, this is Monday, June 8th, 1992, and it's about 11:30 in the morning. Okay.
Now, you will see how easily the shortening comes out of your cup by doing that. Okay. You take the pastry blender, and if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, you can do this if you have a Cuisinart or food processor. You can put your flour and your shortening in and buzz it around, and then add your water and keep turning until it makes a lump. I don't have a food processor, so I have to do it the old-fashioned way. Most recipes tell you that you mix your flour and your shortening until it's the size of a pea. Well, I have found that I use a lot more shortening than most recipes call for, and I keep blending it until it's almost a big ball just by itself. Then I add a small amount of cold water, no more than half a cup. I don't mean half a cup, I mean a quarter of a cup. And probably not even that much. But we'll say not quite a quarter of a cup. If you get too much in, then it's going to be too hard to handle. So, I think a quarter of a cup will probably be just about right. So it's 2 cups of flour, teaspoon of salt, cup of shortening, and about a quarter cup of flour. And you just use a fork and mix that all together. Then you have to flour your board rather generously, pushing some of the excess off to the sides. And you take a little more than half the dough, and your hands are floured, to make your bottom crust, which has to be, of course, a little bit larger than your top crust. I got that pretty wet. It's going to be fun to handle. And another secret of good pie crust is that you try not to handle it too much. So I'll get rid of all this. I feel like Natalie Dupre on the 5:30 cooking shows. Okay, and you take your cloth-covered rolling pin, put a little more flour rubbed into that, and this way, as I said, you can have a nice short pie crust. And you keep rolling it out until it's just a little bit bigger than that circle that you made. Now comes the tricky part. Put your pie in close by. Take your crust, roll it over your pie tin, and flip it on. I didn't do that very well, but it should.
Okay.
Then you have to make sure that there are no cracks in the crust, or your juice will leak through and your bottom crust will get all yucky, soggy. Now, as you can see, I had to do a little patching here because there isn't quite enough to fold up over. Okay. That should be pretty good. Okay, and here comes your really put a lot of water in that this time. Are we going to be showing this at a family event or something?
Quite possibly. You better watch your language. If anything goes wrong, don't you swear now.
Okay. And we roll this little sucker out. I would say the thickness on that is, oh, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, maybe, or a little bit less. Okay, then you just let that sit for a while, then you get started on your apple. Okay, you take your apple, you cut it in quarters, then very carefully you take out the core, because if you leave core in, it's horrible to accidentally leave it in.
I agree.
And then bite down on a piece of that core. So you can peel it two ways. You have a nice sharp knife, which every chef should have. Take off any little brown spots. If they're small apples, cut each quarter in half. If they're big apples, cut each quarter in about thirds. Then there's another way, whichever is faster for you. If you want to peel your apples this way and then quarter them, you can do that. To me, it's when they're small like this, it's easier, I think, to just quarter them, do them by hand. But if this was my mom, Grandma Sherwood, they didn't have these peelers, and she used to be able to peel apples this thin with a paring knife, because Mother never wasted anything. So, okay, here we have that. And then as you see, you still have to quarter. And take off the little green. Take out that. That. Now this piece is a little big. I'm going to do that in like three slices. Then what you do, I gave this to my son Ken. He never used it, but all good chefs do this when they just want to ream a little lemon juice out. And you toss those in the juice, and that lemon juice not only flavors, as I said before, but keeps them from turning brown. Turning brown doesn't hurt the taste or anything, it's just they don't look very appealing. So there you have it.
Okay,
I
well,
think today I think I used about 10 small apples.
okay.
If they're big apples, why, you can get by with anywhere from 6 to 8. And then usually I taste a little piece or two to see if they are as tart as I would like them to be. Sometimes they're not always as tart as I would like.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Oh, I just have something to throw in. I hope I've remembered to keep my stomach in all the while I've been doing this.
Oh, I'm sure. We'll edit out the bad parts.
Can you edit it out?
Well, we could try. But...
Okay, here are your apples that have been, oh, see how nice they're not brown or anything, because
That's the lemon juice.
the lemon juice. Okay, then you pour these into your pie. Feather carefully so you don't break the bottom crust. You just kind of arrange them so they're evenly divided. That look nice?
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I have turned the oven on. You preheat your oven to 450 degrees.
Okay.
And I put a piece of foil underneath the pan so that the juice does not run out into your oven.
Good for you.
Yes. Oh, okay. Then you sprinkle your cinnamon sugar mix.
Now, did you say how much of each we've...
Cup of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon and just a pinch of salt.
Okay.
Combination of the salt and the lemon juice is what gives it a nice flavor. Okay, you do that. You take your old rolling pin. Hopefully this comes out fairly well. Quite enough flour under there. This is sometimes tricky. It doesn't always work too well. It came out pretty
Looks like it
good.
worked pretty good to me.
Okay. Oh dear, I knew it. I forget it every time.
What?
I forgot to put the butter on. Now it's really going to be a mess. Oh well. Won't taste any different. It just won't look as pretty.
That's what counts, is
I
what
do
it
this
tastes like.
about half the time.
Really?
Yeah. And you got quite a bit of,
What's the purpose for the butter now?
well, it just gives it a good flavor, and it kind of helps to thicken it up a little bit, because some people put flour in their filling, and I don't like to do that.
Only adds another 10,000 calories, but who cares at this point?
Of course. So you do that pretty generously.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be one big mess now. So you can tell I'm not used to being on camera.
And we want all the flaws intact. That's perfectly all right.
There. No. Okay, I'd say, a couple of tablespoons of butter. Cut up in little pieces. Okay, that's the best I can do, folks. This is a thing of beauty.
Hey, it's going to look great when it's cooked. Doesn't change the recipe, just
Right.
got that homey touch.
If this were picture perfect, it wouldn't taste as good.
Oh, I know that. Besides, it would cost me extra if it was perfect.
That's right. Okay, now when you get the edges sealed, and fold them in on the pie a little bit, and I take a fork just to make it look a little better. Just kind of go around the edge. Chip thinks I'm going to go through this again for him. He's mistaken.
No, he's wrong. He missed his chance.
Okay, even though this is a little holy already because of what I did to it.
It's not even Sunday.
Yeah, I make a couple of slits in it if the top looks nice, and I try to do kind of a nice design. If you save just a little teeny bit, I like to just lightly.
A little of the mixture there, and then just lightly dust the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes the crust a little more flavorful.
Okay.
Okay, then it's a good idea to make sure the bottom of your pan is clean so that it doesn't smell burny in the oven.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have to be careful not to drop the pie while you're doing this. I've been known to do that too. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, we now go to the oven, which is preheated to about 450. Put it kind of halfway in the oven. And let's see, yeah, I've got that about 450. And set your timer.
Do you want the oven timer or that one?
Well, it doesn't make any difference.
I can show you how to do that one.
Okay, set it for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And at the end of 10 minutes, you turn your temperature down to 350.
Okay.
And bake it probably an hour. But I take my little sharp knife and put it through one of the holes, and if it goes real easy, then the apples are done.
Okay.
Okay? Then when it's done, you take it out and you set it on a rack to cool. And that's your apple pie a la Nana.
All right.
Okay?
All right, you are now on camera. We are standing in the kitchen of the Eastman family residence at 519 DeSeo Avenue. And we are conversing here with the matriarch of the Eastman family by the name of Betty, who is my dear mother. This is Ken Eastman speaking, by the way. And we are...
Mother is kicking and fighting and screaming all the way to the griddle because she doesn't want to do this.
And insists on getting a word in edgewise, interrupting the narrator of this story. The reason that we're here is because we want to record the manufacture of one of the most tasty dishes ever to cross a modern palate, Mom's Potato Pancakes. And I'm afraid that my memory is so bad that if I don't have this somewhere, that I'll never be able to make them on my own because I'll forget something, or many things maybe. So we're going to take it a little step by step here, and the grand cook will explain what she's going to do. Would you like to make a comment on what you've done so far?
Yes. We start with Idaho potatoes, which we peel with gentle, loving care, with one of these, which is called a potato peeler, and
Which
probably
you couldn't find.
50 years, yes, Danny had to help me find it. 50 years from now, probably nobody will know what this is, and it will be considered an antique.
Well, we better save that one then, huh?
Yes,
It might be
better
worth something.
Right.
Well,
Especially
that's,
with all the rust on it.
so what we have is an antique holding an antique, and sorry, just had to
Okay.
get that in.
Russet potatoes,
Yes.
splash, which have been peeled, kept in water so they don't turn brown. I usually figure about, well, for Eastman men, I would figure 2 big russet potatoes per person. And
Okay.
because I'm an Eastman woman and I love potato pancakes, and because I was a Sherwood woman, and that's where I learned how to make these from my mama, and so I probably could eat 2 myself. If you have any left over, you can always heat them in the microwave, which I'm sure microwaves will be improved on and so forth
okay.
in 50 years. Also, we are going to process the potatoes and the onions in food processor, which I believe is called a Cuisinart.
New modern invention, which...
Yes. Then we throw in I don't know how much, say a teaspoon of salt, maybe about 2 tablespoons of flour,
Okay.
and I have here 3 eggs, which I've nicely taken out of the shell. And we kind of beat these up with a fork, so it's not, you have to use an egg beater or anything.
Okay.
So you whip those up a little bit so they're kind of well blended. These are rather strange looking eggs. They were brown shells and look kind of green on the inside, but they smelled okay, so I'm sure they'll be okay.
Well, they're only a month and a half old. I don't know what you
Well,
expect.
let's see, if they stand up, they're okay.
As long as they don't get out of the bowl and walk around.
No. Okay, now we'll stop the camera long enough to get the Cuisinart out and process this and get it all
right.
mixed up,
We'll
ready
we'll
to...
pick up in a minute. And meanwhile, I'm going to pan around here and introduce the voice in the background who was popping off. That is...
Popping off?
That is...
Absolutely not.
See, I can't even get a word in
I
edgewise.
would never do that.
This is my son Daniel, who is living with us at the moment, and we can't wait to get rid of him.
Regret
But
every minute of it.
no, actually, he's been sort of fun to have around when he doesn't pop off. But unfortunately, those moments are very few and far between.
History.
Ah, history. Okay. Well, it's your mother's favorite subject, so I'm sure you have a natural aptitude for it.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Actually, it was also my favorite subject,
Ah, it was Nana's favorite subject too.
that and geography.
Geography too.
Oh,
Okay.
it's in the family.
Well, I'm going to turn the camera off of you because I've wasted enough tape.
Good.
And we'll take a little quick shot of Ashes, who is our matriarch cat of the family. So we'll pick up with the next step in just a few minutes.
Now cut up the onion and the potatoes in small enough pieces that they will flash quickly in the Cuisinart, because we don't want to pulverize them, we just want to grate them. And we do it quickly so they don't turn too brown, because when potatoes are exposed to air they turn brown. Got that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's very
Ooh,
important.
How did I miss that?
Now, in the old days, one would have to grate these by hand,
Oh.
and it would take forever.
Not
You'd start
only-
about 10 in the morning.
When you were little and you guys wanted potato pancakes, you don't know how many raw knuckles went into the potato pancakes.
I bet I do, because I tried to do it that way myself before I had a Cuisinart, before I knew what they were.
Okay, now I'm going to let you do the flashing
Okay.
because you're more familiar with your machine than I am,
All
okay?
right.
And I'm going to start, I'm going to put a low light under the griddle to get that.
Okay, we'll pause while we grate up the potatoes and the onions.
Okay,
You wanna-
we have chopped up the potatoes, put them in the Cuisinart, and we do this and off. this? No.
Until they get to a consistency, which we will now show in the bowl. Kind of like,
this, as if we had spent an hour grating them on the hand grater.
kind of have a mashed potato consistency, don't they, a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah.
So we got the onions and the potatoes in the bowl, and
Then we're going to toss in, oh, I'd say, what? Big teaspoonful of salt at least.
okay,
Then we're going to put in, well, I'm going to put in about 3 tablespoons of flour.
sounding better all the time.
Okay, mix that in. Thoroughly. Best part's coming up, the eating part.
Can hardly wait.
Then we have the 3 eggs beaten up. This is one of my mama's tricks. See, when we had potato pancakes, it was a big thing because I was about 12 when the Great Depression came along. And so there were many and many a night when we were grateful to have potato pancakes. And in those days, if we couldn't get too many eggs, we just put more flour in.
I see.
And
Did it make them taste much different, or
yeah, they weren't quite as tasty with.
probably wouldn't hold
That
together quite as
consistent.
well? Maybe.
No, they held together good, but they were, they were more like a dough rather than with the consistency that the egg gives them. Well, I think maybe I've got enough egg and flour in there. I hope I have. We'll know after the first couple come off the grill.
Well, they're only for Danny anyway, so it doesn't matter. We can ruin a few and let him have them.
Yeah, I thought of something a minute ago I wanted to say about this, and I can't remember now what it was. Senility is setting in rapidly. Okay, now we're going to use some Crisco. And I turned the griddle off momentarily because it was getting too warm, so we'll turn it back on. You realize, for people that are watching this 50 years from now, that I'm not in my own kitchen. I'm not as familiar with all these things. Much more harder
You're doing remarkably well, and I'm sure the results will be just as delicious.
cook in somebody else's kitchen, but I'm trying.
I understand. See, actually, I'm going to try and market this to America.
America's Funniest Home Videos. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
No, America's Tastiest Home Videos.
Maybe it'll come out America's Funniest, who knows?
Only if you fall through the ceiling or fall through the floor or something.
But don't say fall through the ceiling,
or
please.
or the oven tips over on you or something sublime
Okay,
like that.
Let's see if this is hot enough. Yeah, I think so. Okay. You're now going to put Danny's potato pancakes on the girdle. Kind of flatten them out so they aren't too thick. Better warn Danny that they're coming up here.
How far is he away from?
Well, he's got a couple of minutes yet. 3 minutes, at least.
Okay.
At least that much. I think we're going to have enough potato pancakes for you and want to invite 20 or 30 people from the club up. But like I say, you can always save them and heat them up.
Well, you can take some home with you too.
Oh, I plan to. And one thing I insist on, and your son Scott complimented me, I cannot stand to serve food on cold plates. So we have plates warming in the oven. In
At?
fact, they're quite warm. I think maybe I better take them out.
What temperature are you warming the plates at?
Well, I just had them on warm.
Okay.
Where are the pot holders?
Down below, in the lower drawer below the oven there,
Okay.
where you have to break your back to get out.